Warm and pleasant good morning to all my dear students. I hope you all are fine and taking good care of your health. Students, in the last class we revised chapter 10, the story of Bisaki. So I hope chapter 10 is clear to you all. Today we will revise chapter 8, the clever shepherd. And after that I will be taking your subjective test of chapter 8 and 10 in the next class. So prepare well both the chapters. This chapter 8, Clever Shepherd, we had covered recently, and I know you know the story very well. But still, we will revise so that the story should be clear to you. So, get ready with your English literature book, The Clever Shepherd. The story is about King John who ruled over England for more than 700 years. He was not very popular. He disliked everyone who was popular or famous. He suspected the loyalty of such people and always waited for a chance to accuse them of a crime and take back their wealth and power. Similarly, the King John disliked Abbot of Canterbury, who was more popular than the King John, as he had more servants and he spent more money than the king does. Abbot, as I told you, Abbot is a man who was the head of the monks, so he was very popular. So there had been a conversation between King John and Abbot, where King John asked the reason behind his popularity, asked the reason why he had kept hundreds of servants under him. Listening to the King John, Abbot replied that he was just a humble servant of God and he needs some of the men to work under him, but rest of the people they won't work, and he had given the work. But the King John doubted him. According to King John, the priests were the wise and learned men. They were not rich enough to pay the salary to their servants. So he doubted the abbot whether he collected money from the people of Canterbury. Listening to that, Abbot replied, "No, Your Majesty, I only spend my own money." But the King John disbelieved him and asked him whether he is wise and learned man and ordered him to answer his three questions and put a condition that if he was not able to answer the three questions, he will cut his head. Initially, Abbot thought that the king was joking, but later on he realized that the king was serious. The king's first question was that how much the king worth of, and he wanted the exact answer. Second question was how long will it take for him to ride round the world? And the third question was what the king was thinking. Listening to all the questions, Abbot was not able to answer the questions. Abbot was not able to answer the questions immediately, so he demanded for a time. And the king had given him 3 weeks' time and assured him that if you are not able to answer after 3 weeks, he will definitely kill him. After leaving the court, Abbot went to the all wise men around the England, but he didn't get his answer. Nobody was able to answer the king's question. At last, he was mentally prepared for the death and he went to his place to settle down all his affairs. Suddenly, he met one of the shepherds who worked under him and who was very loyal for his master. Shepherd demanded or requested his master to allow him to go to the king's court and answer the king's questions on his behalf. He wanted to play the role of abbot in front of the king so that he could serve his master. Initially, Abbot was not ready, but later on his on the shepherd's request, he agreed and allowed him to go to the court and answer the king's questions. Actually, the shepherd was dedicated and he wanted to save his master's life. That is the reason shepherd wanted to play the role of abbot. So when the shepherd went to the court and introduced himself as the abbot of Canterbury, he answered all the questions cleverly. The answer of the first question was that the king was worth of 25 shillings. 25 shillings. Listening to that, the king got angry, but the shepherd smartly explained his answer. He said that crown is of 5 shillings and sovereign is a pound, which is equal to 20 shillings. So exactly the crowned sovereign is of 25 shillings. That means King John is worth of 25 shillings. King John got impressed with his answer and he was expecting the answer of second question, which was how long will it take to ride round the world. Shepherd answered that king will take 24 hours to ride round the world. He said if the majesty rose with the sun and rode by his side as fast as he ride across the sky, he can ride round the earth in 24 hours. After that, he answered his third questions, that what the king was thinking. In that case, shepherd was very smart. He answered him that the king was thinking that shepherd was the abbot of Canterbury, which he was right. The king agreed, but the shepherd disclosed his real personality in front of the king. Well, in that case, King John was wrong because he was not the abbot of Canterbury, he was the shepherd who was there to answer the king's question for his master. The king was surprised and again he got jealous that abbot was having such a loyal servant who was ready to sacrifice his life for his master. So he demanded shepherd to be his master, but the shepherd was not able to read and write, and he said how he will play the role of abbot. Listening to that, king also agreed that only an educated person perform the role of abbot, but shepherd was not able to read and write, he can't perform the duties of an abbot. At last, king appreciated him for his intelligence and asked him to ask for any reward. And the king wanted to reward him, and shepherd demanded his master's life, which was granted by king. This is the way shepherd protect his master from the king's punishment. And he answered all the questions cleverly. Irrespective of the fact he was not able to read and write, he answered the questions cleverly. And because of that, his master's life had been saved by the shepherd. So, this was the story. I hope you liked, and you know how the sequence of events took place in a story. So, if in case I'll ask you any question from in between the chapter, you are able to attempt it. Let's discuss following reference to context, where I will ask you who said the following lines to whom. So, tell me first, if the line is, you have to answer me who said the following lines to whom. Your Majesty, I beg you to pardon my master, the abbot. Who said these lines to whom? Shepherd said these lines to King John. Right? Second is, no, Your Majesty, I am a humble servant of God. Who said these lines to whom? Yes, abbot to King John. Then tell me, no, Your Majesty, I only spend my own money. Abbot to King John. Change your clothes. You don't need my permission for that. Abbot to Shepherd. Very bad news, my friend. In 2 days' time, I must get all my affairs settled and be ready to die. Abbot to Shepherd. So, like this, the question will come from any in between the chapter. If the story is clear to you, you are able to answer any questions. So, with this, revision of chapter 8 is completed. Prepare chapter 8 and 10 thoroughly, read the chapter thoroughly, and do the back exercise, word meanings, question answers, and all the best for your subjective class test. Thank you and have a nice day.